ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रम् अतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अनन्तगुणपूर्णत्वादगम्याय सुरैरपि सर्वेश्च दात्रे देवानां नमो नारायणाय ते. So, good morning, good evening, and good evening to friends who have joined for the 15th part of Talavakara Upanishad, also called as the Kena Upanishad, as we all know. So, we are relinking again after a break of about 3 weeks now. We had 2 weeks of Gita Chintana, and the last week we had a brief break due to work related commitments. So, we are going back to where we left about 3 weeks ago. So, before we get started, let's always think about all the rishis and Devata and Chandas for this Upanishad of the Samaveda. Chaturmukha Brahma, Sadashiva, Parvati, Talavakara Rishi, and all the acharyas who have given the commentaries on this Upanishad are the rishis. Devata is Vishnu Namaka Paramatma. There are specific contemplations for this Upanishad, including Hrishikesha, Kapila, Aniruddha, and Gayatri. A note for today's session, I put a red box on Gayatri because the third and the fourth Kanda of Kena Upanishad is actually Gayatri Upasana. And we have done Gayatri some 4.5 years ago, I think, a full discussion of Gayatri as given by Srimad Acharya. Then Chandas for this Upanishad comes in Trishtub, Anushtub, Jagati. Those are the primary Chandas that we have reviewed every time we've seen a verse. So what have we done so far? Let's do a very brief recap so that we get our bearings right before we tackle the third Kanda. So we spent about a couple of months or so, 2 to 3 months, looking at the first Kanda, which has got 9 verses, starting from Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha kena pranaha pratamaha preiti yuktaha keneshitam vacham imam vadanti Chakshushrodram Kavudevo Yunakti. The fundamental question that Sadashiva asked Chaturmukha Brahma in Vaijayanta peak of the Meru mountain when Chaturmukha was in deep contemplation on Narayana, Sadashiva approaches him and asks him this question. So we can remind ourselves of that particular background. And of course, incidentally, this Upanishad is called Kena Upanishad because the very first word is Kena. Kena Ishitam Patati. Yeah, so that's the reason why this is called Kena Upanishad. But technically speaking, if you're a purist, you should say it is a Talavakara Upanishad. So this slide gives you a summary of what was the first Kanda all about. So here Sadashiva asked Chaturmukha Brahma a question on our behalf. It is not that Sadashiva does not know all this. He is Aparoksha Jnani. He is such an exalted being. He knows all this, but he asked this question for few reasons. One is to firm up his own knowledge, and at the same time to ask this question like mundane souls like us can benefit from it. So the primary question at that point is what makes the sense organs move towards their sense objects? Because this is what we are doing in samsara. In samsara, that is exactly what we are doing. We're constantly using our sense organs and we are chasing the sense objects. So the deep philosophical question is why is it happening like this? Yeah, so that is what Sadashiva is interested in asking Chaturmukha Brahma. And there, maybe 5 minutes on the slide, the questions were, do they move on their own? That is a materialistic view, isn't it? The eyes just move towards the objects. Are they prompted by the souls? If we remember the chariot analogy of Katha Upanishad, are they prompted by the souls that the sense organs move towards the sense objects? Or are they prompted by the Abhimani Devatas that control the sense organs? And we know in the Vedic language, there is nothing jada that is being discussed in the Vedas. Wherever there is an apparent jada, we should use the language, the technical language, prompted by Veda Vyasa and Brahma Sutras, Abhimani Vyapadeshastu Visesha Anugatibhyam. We should always think about the Abhimani Devatas of those particular components, including of the sense organs. Or are they prompted by an entity that controls all the above? Okay, so that was the question. So then the discussion followed on. The question there was, under whose icha or command or control does the mind move towards the good objects and fall to bad ideas? Under whose icha or control prana, the foremost of all, is prompted to do activities? Who directs people to speak the words mundane and Vedas? Mundane, we use such bad language in our daily transactions, sometimes inappropriate, rude language, and so on. Why does this happen like this? Who directs the eyes and the ears to grasp the external world? Sometimes we see and hear good things, sometimes we see and hear bad things. Who is doing all this? Who is giving the power of hearing to the ears? That is the Abhimani Devata, Chandra. Who is the giver of power of thinking to the mind? Rudra. Who is the giver of power of talk to speech? Agni. Who is the giver of power of vision to the eyes, or the Surya? Who is the prompter of the Prana Tattva himself? Okay. So these are all the questions, if you can recall, that comes in the first kanda. Basic questions. We as humans having this sadhana sharira, we have all these five jnana indriyas on our face, and then we have karma indriyas. We go about doing various activities, and this is the basic question: why is it that we are doing what we are doing? Who is prompting this? Okay. Then there was a discussion about, then the decision that Chaturmukha comes is, this is Brahman or the Antaryamin or the Supreme Paramatma who controls all this. But then Chaturmukha says, Brahman is unknowable fully by the senses and the mind. Yeah, this we have discussed quite a lot. Material eyes cannot obtain the knowledge of him, for us the jivas. That is through perception. We cannot see him through our material perception. Speech cannot obtain the knowledge of him. That is a verbal testimony, that is including the Vedas, cannot actually give us the knowledge, because language has its limitation. All that Vedas give us, it gives us the paroksha jnana, but the aparoksha jnana is our own experience. That's experiential knowledge. What we are getting through the Vedas is indirect knowledge about this trans-empirical things. Mind cannot obtain the knowledge of him, implying inference, logical reasoning cannot take us to Paramatma. So perception, inference, and verbal testimony have their own limitations. So when you look at perception, all organs of perceptions and their Tattvabhimani Devatas also cannot know Brahman fully. Vedas can give you an indirect knowledge of Brahman, but not a direct knowledge. Its direct knowledge is through our experiential knowledge that we gain after Aparoksha Jnana. Even the exalted deities like Rudra, Chandra cannot reach him or know him fully, is what the first kanda was all about. That talks about this concept of the cosmic Antaryamin, which is an important section of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad called Antaryami Brahmanam. And again, we discussed this so many times in our satsang. So the cosmic Antaryamin and the regulator of all is this Brahman, was the discussion in the first kanda. So at that point, Sadashiva, having sat next to Chaturmukha and having had a knowledge of all this, he said, yeah, thank you, Chaturmukha. I have now understood who this Brahman is. You have given me an insight, and now I have understood who the Brahman is, says Sadashiva. Then begins the second kanda, over 5 verses. Okay. Yadi manyase suvedeti dahramevapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu atanumimamsyam evate manye viditam. And we finished it off the last time when we caught up 3 weeks ago. Ihached avedit atasatyamasti nached iha avedit mahati vinashtihi bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretya asmat lokad amruta bhavanti. So the second kanda started off in a very, I wouldn't say negative, but in a way in which Chaturmukha says, you cannot know this Paramatma. And in the fifth verse, he becomes very positive and says, yeah, know that Paramatma right now, iha ched avedit ata satyamasi, then you are guaranteed for Amrita. Okay, so we looked at that over, again, I think 2 or 3 months, this second kanda. What was the summary of the second kanda? The summary of the second kanda, the core essence of the summary kanda is it's a follow on from the first chapter, which informed us that the sense organs and the mind cannot grasp this Brahman fully. So then the question is, why is it that we can't grasp this Brahman fully? That was the discussion of the second kanda, where the infinitude of Brahman as an infinite being was described. There, again, we spent several sessions talking about what does the infinitude of Brahman actually means. It means deshataha aparichinnatvam, kalataha aparichinnatvam, and gunataha aparichinnatvam, which is infinite in space, infinite in time, and infinite in transempirical auspicious attributes. So those are the reasons why we limited beings cannot actually grasp this Brahman. Brahman cannot be known completely because he is infinite. This is something that we have to hit into our head. We are not Brahman. He is infinite. We are subatomic, useless entities. Yeah. He cannot be known completely. Is what Chaturmukha Brahma again and again, if you can recall, brings home the truth. And that Brahman is not unknowable because he can be known through the scriptures. That is the indirect knowledge that you can get about Brahman through the scriptures. So in that sense, he is not unknowable, but he is not knowable fully. These are the two ideas that we need to be very clear about who this God, the concept of God is. Chaturmukha, Mukhya Prana, and those category of souls called the Rijus, they know Brahman better than all other jivas. So Chaturmukha also is a jiva, but his knowledge of Brahman is higher than all other jivas, including you and me. Yes, that was the third idea of this second kanda. But the key is Brahman alone knows about him fully. So that was the fourth idea that Chaturmukha gives this knowledge of Brahman, idea about Brahman to us through Sadashiva. That there we picked up Acharya's definition about Paramatma, saying that na suveda na aveda. So Brahman is na suveda. Brahman is also na aveda. So he cannot be fully known, and at the same time he is not unknowable. He can be known as per our capacity. Okay. And when can we know him as per our capacity? Not now. Now is only theoretical knowledge. Okay, that we have to be very clear. This is all theoretical knowledge. We will know him as per our capacity in aparoksha jnana when this pratibimba turns inwards and sees the bimba. That is his antaryamin. When he sees his antaryamin, that is when he gets a brief glimpse of who this Brahman is. But once that aparoksha jnana has happened, moksha is guaranteed in the Vedic system. At some point it will happen. After we have exhausted our prarabdha karma, then we get the moksha. And in moksha, of course, we will be in constant synchrony with Brahman, and we will be knowing him as per our capacity again. Okay. So having given this whole journey of souls in the second kanda and in the first kanda, giving us a reality check as to what our limitations are, then Chaturmukha says, do that, start the journey right now. And that is what he's saying to Sadashiva, but actually to us, that start that journey right now. Don't delay this, because you do not know what your next birth is going to be. We have accumulated so much karma over the last infinite number of births and rebirths that we have had in this creation and possibly in the previous creations and so on, that we have so much of bag of karmas that we do not even know. If we miss this opportunity of a sadhana sharira or human birth of life, we do not even know what we are going to be born next. And we looked at Chandogya Upanishad verse, isn't it? Taiha Vyagro va Simho va Varaho va Kito va Patango va Dhamsho va Mashako va Yadyad Vadanti Tat Tada Bhavanti, the Chandogya Upanishad verse in the chapter 6, which says you can Not only these animals, but also 8.4 million species that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. We may be going around in those. Okay, and we may never get our sadhana sharira again. So this is why our Chaturmukha Brahma is prompting all of us to say, start the journey now when you have this human body of life. Start it now. Don't wait for, I'm going to finish my education. I'm going to finish my, I'm going to get a job. Then I'm going to have a career. Oh, then I'm going to get married. Oh, I'm going to get children. I'll postpone everything. Oh, then let my children get married. Oh, let me get the grandchildren, etc., etc. This is a never-ending problem for samsarins. And when are we going to say, okay, now we are going to start? By the time we reach that point, maybe our sense organs are not working, our bodies have all withered off, that we don't even have the strength to study the Vedas. So Chaturmukha Brahma very clearly says, start the journey right now. Okay. So this is the summary of the first two khandas. Okay. Remember the first one talking about the sense organs, and then talking about using that sense organs to make philosophical progress. Okay. So far, what our Chaturmukha Brahma has done for us is to give a very, he's given us a knowledge base. Okay? He's given us some theory about who this Brahman is, what is the status of the universe, what is all our indriyas and stuff. So he's given us some knowledge base. So it will serve us well. At least we have made an effort to understand this knowledge base. Okay. But then, education is what? Education is not only the theoretical aspects. Education also means practical aspects, right? And our rishis are very good at doing this in the Upanishads and in the Samhita portions of the Vedas. There are so many incidents and illustrations that are put in just to reinforce philosophical ideas and philosophical concepts. So what Chaturmukha does actually in the third khanda, which will be for our contemplation over the next 4 to 6 weeks, is Chaturmukha now goes on to say, look, I've given you all the theoretical background of the status of the universe and how your journey should be. But now let me give you an incident and describe so that we all realize the concept of Brahman through a practical illustration. So that is what he's going to be doing. This is really, really interesting. And in Upanishads, you will see in so many places, Taduktam Rishina. So there is this Vedic mantra in some other Samhita, and the Rishi will say like that. They'll give references to what's happened before in some Rishi, in some Samhita portion, or this Rishi said that. And similarly here, Chaturmukha says, look, there was this incident that again illustrates this idea of Brahman and the world. Okay, so this is the focus of Tritiya Khanda. Okay, so Tritiya Khanda has got 12. It's got 12 sentences, I would say. Okay, not mantras, because this is interesting. So we are in Samaveda. Okay, but in Samaveda, there is a prose section that comes in this Upanishad. Okay, that is the Gadya form. That is the third Khanda. An anecdote which is symbolic as well as philosophical. Okay, so I have a small quiz for us to start thinking about this. Why is Vedas called Trayi? So who is going to tell us why is the Veda called Trayi? Who is going to pick that up?
Rig, Yajur, and Sama.
Thank you, Srikanji. Could you elaborate? Rig, Yajus, and Sama. So what are those
One
three?
is prose, the other one is poetry, the other one is song.
Okay, so
Maybe I missed one.
no, I think you got it all right. So tell us which one is poetry, which one is prose. So Padya, Gadya, and Gana, right?
Right.
So
Sama
Gadya
is
is,
Sama is songs, of course, and Rig Veda is I think it's prose. The other one is Gadya, Padya. Second one is verse and song. Prose, verse, and song.
yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Anybody wants to add in anything else from what Srikanti has said so far?
Yajurveda is prose, Rigveda is poetry, and Samaveda is music.
Yeah. So Anand, sorry, do you want to repeat that again? Your voice was a bit muffled.
Yajurveda is prose,
Yeah.
Samaveda is music,
Yeah.
and Rigveda is the poetical form.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for that clarification, Anandji. So yeah, you have the Padya, Gadya, and Gana. These are the only three ways of human communication. Okay, there is nothing beyond this. So you will see that Vedas come only under these three. Yeah, that is why they are called Trayi. Then, of course, you have the four branches of the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. So those are the four branches, not to be confused with the unified Vedas, where the communication between sentient beings can be only in three forms. It can either be in poetry, could be in prose, or it could be in music. So our Chaturmukha Brahma then now changes his language. He changes his mode of communication from a poetry where we had all the chandas in the first and the second kanda, and every mantra that we had, we contemplated on the chandas, who is the Abhimani Devata of the chandas, and so on, if you can recall. So here we don't have the chandas contemplation because this is in a prose form. Okay, so there are 12 verses, but these are very easy to navigate because we have done a lot of base, isn't it? We already have a strong theoretical foundation of what is it that our Chaturmukha Brahma is teaching Sadashiva. So here he starts off with it's a very poetry form. Brahmaha devebhyo vijigye tasyaha brahmano vijaye deva amahiyanta. So that's how it starts. So there is no, as I said, no chandas involved here. So the interesting bit about the third kanda, okay, so there are various devatas who are actually coming in this incident, okay, and that is why it's important to be very, thorough in our first and the second kanda, particularly the first kanda of the Kena Upanishad, whereas, we not only spoke about the sense organs, we also spoke about the Abhimani devatas of the sense organs. Yeah, and that is why this kanda is important. You have to apply what you have learned in the first kanda with all the Abhimani devatas of various sense organs, and then apply it in this kanda, and then understand the beauty of this particular kanda and the philosophy of this. Okay, if we don't do this, it just becomes a dry, some story, it feels like a silly story, to be honest. Some dry story is what being described. If we don't actually apply Vedanta Sutra here, Abhimani Vyapadeshastu Visesha Anugatibhyam, if you don't apply the rules of Vedanta Sutra, this khanda will not make any sense. Okay, so my humble request is avoid transliterations that are out there. We have to study this only through our Guru Mukha, like how we have all learn from Guru Mukha with regards to how we do, and we go to the core text of our acharyas and then understand how this particular kanda is approached. Okay, so the various devatas come in this incident. Really interesting. Chaturmukha Brahma is there, Shiva is there, Parvati is there, Indra is there. There is this new guy called Pravahavayu. We will talk about him quite a lot. Then there is Agni, and then there is a strange character called Yaksha. Okay, so Yaksha also comes here, and of course our Vishnu is the star of this particular incident or a story. So you have various devatas that are being described in this particular prose. So what I am trying to do here is give you a background before we go into the verses, because without the background it becomes very difficult to actually appreciate the deep philosophy that Chaturmukha is teaching Shiva. Okay, so various Abhimani devatas are here. Okay, here is our interactive discussions here. Okay, so I would want all of us to contribute freely and intensely. Okay, what are their ranks in Vedic pantheon? Okay, so if we have to know this, then it becomes interesting, and then we can understand why is it what is happening in this particular story. So the Vedic pantheon, the ranks in the Vedic pantheon. So here is my first quiz out there. Why do we have this something called the Vedic pantheon, and there is something called Taratamya and so on, right? Why is it there in the Vedas? Anybody wants to share their thoughts? What is this Vedic pantheon and the ranks in Vedic pantheon all about? Taratamya. So what does that mean, Taratamya? Anybody want?
Gradation, it means from the gross to the subtlest, or to go deeper.
Yeah.
Gradation is essential to know what comes first.
Okay, thank
What
you.
is Sukshmaya?
So yeah, thank you, Pratibhaji. Still there is a question about why is there a gradation? What is that gradation?
Is it in their knowledge about Brahman? Is it As they are higher up, they know more and more about Brahma.
Fantastic answer, Sushilji. Thank you very much. So the Vedic rank or the Taratamya is actually that about souls having knowledge of Paramatma. And each one of us, as you know, the clarity of knowledge among us is different, right? The clarity of knowledge of Chaturmukha Brahma is the highest. And us, I don't know what our clarity really is. So Taratamya, okay? Tara and Tama. So remember, look at that words itself. It's not some sentimental rubbish. Yeah. Look at Tara and Tama. Okay, Tara is below, Tama is high. So it is Tara Tama, Tara Tama. What is high, what is below? What is high, what is below? Understanding that gradation, that is what is Taratamya actually is. Tara and Tama. Okay, so you never forget that. It's about the what is our capacity of knowing knowledge of Paramatma. So Vedic rank I put this in for our benefit here. So let me now I've shown it to you briefly. Let's go back and now think about it. So Vishnu is, what is the Vedic rank of Vishnu? Let's have a rapid run through.
1,
Chaturmukha Brahma.
3,
3.
Fantastic. Rudra.
5.
5. Okay, good, excellent. Parvati.
7,
Sorry, who was that?
7.
7.
7.
7. Thank you. Indra.
11.
8.
8. Excellent. This guy is Prava. How are you?
11.
11. Very good. And Agni?
Agni 15, I guess.
Anybody else?
14.
15, I guess.
15, 14. Any other numbers?
12,
Sorry?
15.
15. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. So the resounding answer is 15. Correct. Yeah. So Vishnu 1, Chaturmukha 3, Shiva 5, Parvati 7, Indra 8, Pravaha Vayu 11. Okay. And there are many Vayus that come in that we know of. Okay. He's second among 49 Maruts. He's also called Nasikya Vayu. So we'll come to all that discussion. So we need to be knowing all this to understand this incident. Agni is, of course, 15. Excellent. Portfolios in Brahmanda. Okay. So let's think about it. What is Chaturmukha's portfolio in Brahmanda?
Starting.
Sorry?
Mahatma.
Mahat Tattva. Excellent. Shiva, Rudra,
Ahankara.
Ahankara. Excellent. Parvati,
Walk. Walk.
Vak. Okay. Excellent. I'll give it to you. Vak. Okay. Anything else? Parvati, Tanmatras.
Yes.
Which Tanmatra she is?
Panchatanmas.
Among the Panchatanmatras, which one?
The speech.
Okay.
The
Yeah. Tanmatra speech is Tanmatra is Shabda. Manas, Parvati, possibly yes, but yeah, Gandha, Tanmatra. Indra, Indra is the Abhimani of which one?
hands.
All the 7.
Indri.
So Indra, hand, what was the other one?
All the Indriyas.
All the Indriyas. Okay, excellent. Pravaha Vayu, or also called Nasikya Vayu. What is this portfolio in Brahmanda?
Something to do with nose.
Nose and also the wind that is there in Antariksha. Okay, not to be confused with our Mukhya Prana or Vayu. So that guy is different, and there are the other chaps. Okay, so that again, that distinction we need to apply, and it's all about the contextual relevance of what Vayu is being described. Yeah, which we will again come to it. Agni, what is this portfolio?
Vaivya Dikku.
Sorry, Shobhaji.
Vaivya Dikku.
Okay.
Oh,
For Agni, what is his portfolio in Brahmanda?
walk. Walk.
Okay, walk is in Pindanda, right?
Sure.
So yeah, Agni, fire. Okay. So Abhimani of Mahat Tattva, Abhimani of Ahankara Tattva, Abhimani of Gandha Tanmatra, Abhimani of Pani, Karma Indriya, Abhimani of atmospheric wind, also called Bhuta Vayu, Abhimani of fire. So this is the Vedic system. Yeah, we may agree or we may not disagree, but we need to understand the characters and their portfolios to be able to understand what is going on in the third khanda. And of course, our Vishnu is the creator of the universe, eightfold cosmic dispensation, everything under him. So now let's think about the portfolio in Pindanda. So who is going to tell us what are all the portfolios? Let's start with Chaturmukha.
Creation.
No, Chitta. Chaturmukha.
Chitta, very good. And what about Rudra?
Rudra is
Manas.
Manobhima. Yeah.
Okay, Anandji saying Manobhimani. Anybody else would like to give?
Yeah, Manas, yeah, Manobhim.
Okay, Parvati.
Vak.
Excellent. So Anandji, Parvati in Brahmanda is Gandha Tanmatra and in Pindanda is Vak. Indra in Pindanda.
Hands.
Which one? Sorry, Sushil.
Hands.
Hands. Okay, we'll hold on to the thought. Pravaha Vayu is what you said, something related to the nose. Nasikya.
Nose.
Nasikya. Something to do with the nose. And Agni, what is his portfolio in Pindanda?
Chakshu.
Chakshu Surya. Agni.
Agni, speech.
Digestion.
No, digestion.
No.
Walk.
Good guess. Who said walk?
Me, Kusum. Yeah, I said walk.
Kusumji walk. So you have to make the distinction, right? Agni and Parvati. So what is the difference between Agni and Parvati? They both have some relationship with walk. What is their differences between Agni and Parvati?
Agni is the organ of the speech, like the vocal
Correct.
box, voice box.
Voice box.
Yeah.
The
Parvati.
song.
Parvati is the formation of the words itself.
Brilliant. Excellent. So fantastic. Thank you very much, Srikanji and Anandji. So we need to get this, our bearings perfectly right here, which is what we have done. Abhimani of Chitta is Chaturmukha. Abhimani of Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara is Rudra. Abhimani of the speech is Parvati. Abhimani of speech, Karma Indriya, is Agni. Okay. Abhimani of hands, head of all Indriyas, as Sushrut was mentioning, is our Indra. But in the Brahmanda, Indra's portfolio is the head of all the Devatas in Swarga. Yeah. Abhimani of Tvak, Jnana Indriya, is Pravahavayu, along with Kubera. So hold on to that idea. In your Pindanda, one is, of course, the nose, Nasikya Vayu, but he is also the Abhimani of Tvak, Jnana Indriya, touch. Okay. Along with Kubera, he is also the portfolio. Okay, so as Anandji so rightly pointed out, we have this Vedic pantheon system not because we want to distinguish or discriminate one from the other. No, it is about the inherent capacity of these souls or this category of souls in knowing about this Paramatma or Vishnu. Tara and Tama. Tara and Tama becomes Taratamya. Okay, so that we should never forget about this. Portfolios in Brahmanda and portfolio in Pindanda. So I hope this slide is helpful for us to revise this. Excellent. Why is this particular verse, in this particular kanda, this is again interesting. It starts off with Agni and then goes all the way up. Okay. It could have been Ganesha, for example. Ganesha could have also been a character in this particular incident, but it starts off with Agni. And again, there is a reason why, because this in Aitareya Brahmana, Aitareya Samhita, these are all the things that come in. Agnirvai Devanam Avamo. Among the Devatas, Agni is the lowest. That is from the first 15. Not that we are higher than Agni. No, we are talking about the first 15. In that, Agni is the 15th. Agnirvai Devanam Avamo. Vishnuhu Paramaha. Tad Antara Sarvadevataha. This is Vedic words. Yeah, Aitareya Brahmana 111. Okay. So this gives you clear descriptions of plurality of selves. Okay. So this is not a self-made hypothesis. These are all in the Upanishads and the Vedas. So in the Aitareya Brahmana clearly says Agnirvai Devanam Avamo Vishnuhu Paramaha Tad Antara Sarvadevataha. Agnir Avamo Devatanam Vishnuhu Paramaha. Taitreya Samhita. So they talk about all this. Okay. hierarchy of devatas. So one of the key ideas of the third kanda that we are now going to be making our pravesha in is the hierarchy of devatas that is described in the Upanishads, including the Kena Upanishad. And it talks about the monotheistic philosophy of the Vedas. Okay, some folks look at nihilistic view of the Vedas. Okay, it is Vedas are not nihilistic. Vedas are monotheistic. They says Vishnuhu Paramaha, Vishnuhu Paramaha, monotheistic. He is the highest. Okay, and there are other devatas. He is Deva, Eko Devaha, but there are lots of devatas. Okay, devatas should not be confused with Deva. There is only one Deva. There are innumerable number of devatas who are all sentient beings in higher planetary systems in different galaxies with higher capacities to do stuff. Okay. And of course, the infinitude and the unknowability of Brahman is actually illustrated in a practical example, okay, in this particular kanda. So that is why this kanda is so beautiful, because it actually, we can actually revise the whole of the Vedic philosophy in this third chapter as to what is going on here, rather than, just brush it aside and saying, oh, this is all Atattva Vedaka. No, this is Tattva Vedaka. There are every word and sentence in the Vedas is Tattva Vedakas, not just 5 as some folks make it to be. Every line is Tattva Vedaka, and that is what we are going to be kind of understanding over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. Then there is this strange character who's coming in this. As I said here in the previous verse, we had this Yaksha. Okay, so this Yaksha guy, there is some strange character that is coming in this particular third chapter, who is called as Yaksha. Yeah. So Yaksha, who is Yaksha? I mean, I've summarized all that I have researched and found out about all the Yakshas. But anybody wants to share that they have learned or know about Yakshas? Yakshas are sentient beings. Anybody wants to come in and tell us something about Yaksha? Yakshas in the Vedas, Itihasas, and Puranas. So no worries. So some of you might have seen the famous Kannada movie called Kantara. Is it Kantara or Kantara? So there is a Yaksha there. There is a Yaksha who is a character there. Yeah. Think about, there's a very mundane, it's a very silly example, but I hope that gives you an idea what is this Yakshas. Okay, they are sentient beings. Yakshas worshipped as guardian deities of trees, forests, and water bodies. As I said, in the Vedic philosophy, there is nothing called a jada. Everything has a sentient being behind it. It's like the Japanese philosophy of kamis. Yes, if you go to Tokyo or anywhere, there are temples everywhere. Okay, the Japanese temples, and they all worship various sentient beings called kamis, who are all sentient beings in charge of certain aspects of the universe. Yeah, very interesting. So Yakshas are similar type of characters. Yeah, they are sentient beings who are worshipped in the Vedic systems as guardian deities of trees, forests, water bodies, and so on. They're usually benevolent. Okay, and here is something that we all will be familiar with: Kubera. Okay, Kubera, who is the 18th rank, who is also called Vaishravana. Vaishravana. Yeah, is the king of the Yakshas. Okay, so never forget about our Kubera. So incidentally, a quick quiz. Kubera is the Abhimani of which component in the Pindanda? Who wants to quickly answer that? It's already there here.
Work.
Twak. Thank you. Yeah, touch. He's Abhimani of touch. Okay. But of course, Kubera, because we go to Tirupati, we all know Kubera is the deity of wealth, because our Srinivasa is supposed to have, taken some loan from him to conduct the wedding and all that. But there are other philosophies there, not just the story. So he's also the deity of wealth, prosperity. He's a Dikpala of the northern direction. Here is a quick quiz. Who is the Dikpala of the southern direction? Who is going to answer that? Quickly.
Yama.
Yama.
Thank you very much, Anand Neetaji. Yeah, excellent. Yama is the southern direction, whereas our Kubera is the northern direction. He is the Twak Abhimani. Okay. So that is Kubera, who is the king of all the Yakshas. And Yakshas are sentient categories described in the Vedas who have portfolios in various, material stuff. Okay. And they also come in Ramayana and Mahabharata. Okay. So in Ramayana, this is interesting. Kubera, the king of the Yakshas, was a stepbrother of Ravana. Okay, Kubera was the ruler of Lanka before being defeated and driven out by Ravana. Ravana also stole Kubera's flying chariot called the Pushpaka Vimana. Okay, so these are all some tidbits I thought will be interesting for us about these yakshas who come in itihasas. Ramayana and Mahabharata is itihasa, right? And then in Mahabharata there is the yaksha prashna, okay, that many of us would be familiar with. And interesting there is Yama in the form of yaksha test Yudhishthira, who is also Yama's avatara. Okay, about righteousness with a series of riddles that we have. I think we have done it a few times before. Dharma Baka Upakyana. Okay, the legend of the virtuous crane in Mahabharata. So there also there is a yaksha and there is a yaksha prashna. Okay, this I thought was interesting when I was doing a bit of Google search and so on. Gandha yaksha, he's a primary deity of aromatic plants. Okay, so next time you buy some fragrance in one of those posh shops, think about our Gandha yaksha, which was being described in the Vedic times as he's the deity of aromatic plants. Okay, so some background information about yaksha. And of course, yaksha, the ideas, the philosophy of yaksha is not a recent one. It's a very ancient one. In Rig Veda, it comes. Of course, in Keno Upanishad, third kanda, it's about an yaksha. And in Gita, chapter 10:23, 11:22, and 17:4, the word yaksha comes in. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vittesho Yakshaha. Yeah, so there Krishna talks about yaksha, vittesho, among the wealthiest, I'm the Kubera. Yeah, so he kind of brings that as well. So we need to kind of apply all this. So even in Buddhism and Jainism, they describe yakshas. That was a surprise to me when I was doing this kind of investigation as to what is this yaksha all about. Okay, and of course yaksha comes in Kantara, Kannada movie as well. Okay, apparently there is a part 2 of it as well. If anybody is interested can watch it. So yaksha. So here is the philosophy of yaksha. Okay, in our Vedas, in our Upanishads and Itihasa Puranas, wherever you see yakshas coming, they're usually appearing in scriptures to teach a lesson. That they're out there to teach something, like in Yaksha Prashna of Mahabharata. Similarly, there is a yaksha of Keno Upanishad. Okay, and these guys appear in scriptures to teach a lesson. That is their roles in scriptures. Okay, so that I think is interesting. So hopefully this particular slide gives you a background of yakshas, who they are. They are devatas. They are highly exalted beings. Majority of them are benevolence. Okay, that those are the yakshas that we need to know. So this third chapter again, the beauty of this third chapter is we now can get some new ideas, new forms, new knowledge about yakshas. And generally they are described as mysterious forms. Yakshas usually they're very mysterious. They create a sense of awe and so on in the scriptures. Okay. So this is what is, sorry, we have still not come to the full chapter, because this is, as I said, the background is important. So in this particular third kanda, in this particular incident, an yaksha appears along with Chaturmukha, Shiva and Parvati. Okay? That is what our Chaturmukha is actually giving a story. He is giving an incident to our Sadashiva, saying that, there was an yaksha who appeared. Okay. Now here is a interesting question that our gurus pick up and ask us to think about it. This is again a practical illustration. Okay, how can the same Chaturmukha Brahma and Shiva, who are having a conversation in Vaijayanta mountain, along with Uma, appear there in this incident? How can Chaturmukha Brahma teach Rudra about an incident that they both were part of? Yeah, so I hope you understand that background. So this is the question that is taken up to address. So if Chaturmukha is teaching Rudra about an incident, but they both are actually in this incident, so how is that possible? What is the logic here? Okay. So again, in Talavakara Upanishad, Srimad Acharya also tells, when Yaksha appears, Yaksha Rupaha Pradur Abhut Uma Shivas Samanvitaha Brahmana Cha Api Sahita Etebhyo Api Parohi Aham. Yeah. So when Chaturmukha comes, Shiva, when Yaksha comes, Chaturmukha, Shiva, and Parvati also are coming in this incident, is what our Srimad Acharya is telling. But then the question is, how can the same Chaturmukha Brahma and Rudra appear in an incident which Chaturmukha Brahma and Shiva is illustrating? Have they forgotten about this? So that Chaturmukha is reminding Shiva of this? Okay, that is an interesting question. So what is going on here is, this is an incident that happened in the previous kalpa, when there was a different Chaturmukha Brahma, Shiva, Parvati, etc. in the previous Chaturmukha Brahma's kalpa. Okay, so that is the basics there that we need to get our head around with regards to understanding what is happening in the background to this particular khanda. Okay, so different Chaturmukha Brahma coming, different Shiva and different Parvati. Okay,
In a different kalpa.
in a different kalpa. Yeah. So who wants to take us very quickly with the kalpas? Can I ask one of us to take the life of Brahma kalpas, and then look at all the Abhimani devatas who are coming here and what is actually going on? Anybody wants to take us through the Brahma kalpas very quickly? Okay, no worries. So you have the life of Brahma, right? That this guy lives for 311.04 trillion years. Okay, so that is the full kalpa. Then there is the Dina kalpa, each day of Brahma. And then we know that in each day of Brahma there are manvantaras. And in each manvantaras there are Divya Yugas. Okay, so there are all these calculations. So we need to know Divya Yuga, Manvantara, Dina kalpa, and the Brahma kalpa. Okay, now the conscious beings, the sentient beings, Vishnu and Lakshmi are always one and the same. There are no infinite Vishnus and infinite Lakshmis. There's only one Vishnu and one Lakshmi. Okay. Whereas with every Brahma Kalpa, every new Chaturmukha Brahma that appears, okay, Rujus are what? Chaturmukha, Vayu, Latavya, etc. Okay. So in each Brahma Kalpa, so one Chaturmukha will be there. Okay, and his consort will be Saraswati. Then there is this Vayu and her consort is Bharati. There is a small typo here. Then of course there is a Rudra and a Parvati also. The Rudra is just a rank. It is just a designation. And there are infinite Rudras in creation. They come every creation. There are infinite categories of souls called Parvatis. They come. Okay, this is the Vedic view. Okay, these guys, Shiva, Parvati, Garuda, Sesha, Rudra, their consorts, they all change after the end of Chaturmukha Brahma's lifespan. Okay, here is a quick quiz. What happens to Shiva of the current creation when the Mahapralaya has happened, when the next creation happens? What happens to that Shiva? Who is going to tell us very quickly? What happens to Rudra?
Is he going to become Shesha? I mean, I thought you mentioned this, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheilaji. Perfect answer. So he comes as Shesha. Yeah, and then you have the Manvantara, isn't it? So this is important. So each day of Brahma, okay, how many are there in each day of Brahma? There are 14 Manvantaras. And in each Manvantara, there will be every Manvantara, there will be a change. There will be a different batch of Indra, Pravahavayu, Agni, and so on. Okay, this we should never forget. So these Indra, Pravahavayu, Agni, they keep changing in every Manvantaras. The current, anybody wants to say who is the Indra of current, Manvantara? Any quick answers for that?
Upendra.
Sorry?
Upendra.
Upendra. Shobaji, what is that? Sorry?
I thought Pururuha
Purandara, correct, yes. Purandara. So this Indra of this Manvantara is actually called Purandara. Okay. And then, Indra, Pravahavayu, Agnu, they all keep changing in every Manvantara. And all of them below, even the Sapta Rishis, they change in every Manvantara. Okay. And then you and me, God knows, I don't know where we will go, but, we are not Tattvabhimani Devatas, right? We are just stupid souls who are here stuck in the samsara. Yeah. So all the Tattvabhimani Devatas up to Indras, they change at each Manvantara. And then Garuda, Sesha, Rudra and their consorts, and they all change with Chaturmukha Brahma. Lakshmi, Vishnu are the same. Okay, so if we have understood this idea, then what is being discussed here becomes interesting. So actually what is happening is the current Chaturmukha Brahma is describing an incident that happened during a previous Brahma Kalpa. Okay, so that is how our acharyas teach us how to study the Kena Upanishad, putting applications of all the things that we have studied so far about life of Brahma and so on. Then, of course, the question is why narrate such an incident? Why these devatas are described as in the incidents? It is, as I told you before, is we have had all the theoretical knowledge. Now we have to apply it in a situation, in an incident. And if we have all the backgrounds right, this incident becomes very beautiful. Okay, so there are three primary Tattvabhimani devatas who come in this incident. Okay, so that itself is beautiful. Why these devatas in this incident? Indra, Agni, and Pravaha Vayu. Okay, why do they come in this particular incident that Chaturmukha Brahma is illustrating? For that, you have to go back to the first Kanda. So if we don't go and if we don't ruminate on the first Kanda, then this becomes very difficult for us to understand. That is why we should never pluck things out of context. We should always see things in context. So what happened in the very first Kanda? Yan manasa na manute yena ahur mano matam tadeva brahmatvam vitti na idam yadidam upasate keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Indra, apart from being the head of the Indriyas and the Abhimani of the hands, he is actually a Mano Abhimani. There are many Abhimanis of the mind, yeah, including Chandra, Chandrama Manaso Jataha, as Purusha Shukta says. Similarly, Indra is also Abhimani of the mind. Of course, Abhimani of the mind highest is you have Rudra, who looks after the first three of the mind. Then you have Chaturmukha Brahma, who is looking after Chitta, and then Lakshmi, who looks after Chetana. So you have all those higher categories. But here Indra is Mano Abhimani. Agni we know is Vak, but then he is also here for a reason. Yeah, and what is that? I'll come you in a minute. Vak. He is a Vak Abhimani. Indra is Mano Abhimani. Pravaha Vayu, Nasikya Vayu. So there is this air going between the nose, right? That is Pranaha. That is like your breath. There is, of course, the Mukhya Prana, our Dasha Pramati is there. Then there is, he is actually called Madhyama Prana. And then there is the Parama Mukhya Prana, who is Vishnu himself. So you need to get this bearings. So you have Pravaha Vayu. So Mano Vak Pranaha is very, very important for sadhana, right? So who is going to tell us why is this Mano Vak Pranaha, which comes again and again in the Upanishads, is very important for us. So what is that sequence? Vak Pranaha Manaha. So Vak, speech, you learn, you hear about the Vedas, then you contemplate through the mind, then you go into deep dhyana. This is what is Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nididhyasitavyaha, right? Mano Vak Pranaha. So it becomes very important for the sadhanas. So these Abhimani Devatas come here for that, to remind us of this practice. Then of course, Agni is the highest form of worship on earth. Okay, so that is very important. Agni Mile Purohitam. Why? Because Agni is the highest form of worship of Brahman on earth. Prithvi, Bhur, okay. Bhuvaha, Antarikshaha, Pravaha Vayu. In Antariksha, there is this atmosphere, wind blowing. Okay. Then you have Swarga, heavens, Swaha. Indra is the head of the heavens. Surya is there, of course, but Indra is the head of everyone, right? Surya. Which rank is Surya? Who is going to remind us? What is the Vedic rank of Surya along with Chandra?
12.
12. Excellent, Sushaji. Thank you. Indra is 8. Okay. So Surya of Gayatri, I'm coming to that as you will see, is 12. Indra is 8. Indra is the head of all the devatas, and he is in the Swarga. He's the head of the Swarga, actually, Indra. So if you look at these characters who appear, it is directly related to Gayatri. Bhur, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Mano, Vak, Pranaha. So if you remember, when we first started, I was mentioning about Devatas. I reminded you of Vishnu is the Devata, Hrishikesha, Kapila, Aniruddha, and Gayatri. Gayatri Namaka Paramatma, contemplation in the third and the fourth Adhyaya becomes very beautiful when you look at all these Devatas who come in. Okay, Indra, Agni, and Pravaha. And in Pindanda, exactly the same. That is why we should always read our Upanishads with this background. When thankfully over the years we have done all this, so we can really appreciate all this. So when you look at the Pindanda and the Abhimani Devati, Pravahavayu, breathing. Indra, look at mind, Garuda, Sesha, Rudra, Indra, Kama, Brihaspati, Chandra, Parvati, Brahma, Lakshmi. They are all the Abhimanis of the mind. Then you have Saraswati, Bharati, Parvati. Eyes, Surya, Indra, hands, Kubera. So you had to put all this Pindanda and Brahmanda. This actually is a contemplation of Omkara. Akara, Ukara, Makara, Bhur, Bhuvaswaha. Gayatri Upasana is a central theme of Talavakara Upanishad. Okay, so which our acharyas remind us, not just the story, but actually thinking about the Gayatri Upasana through Talavakara Upanishad, provided we have understood all the Abhimani Devatas and their ranks in the Vedic pantheon and so on, then we will be able to appreciate the third Kanda. Okay, so having given all this background over the last 56 minutes or so, I think we will just look at this over the next 4 minutes and then pick it up in the next session. So I hope the background is helpful. So with this background, we are doing a pravesha to the very first verse. Brahmaha devebhyo vijigye tasyaha brahmano vijaye deva amahiyanta. Okay, so the language, the prose that is being given here is archaic Vedic Sanskrit. Okay, so we will have to learn this only through a Guru Mukha. No transliterations. Only through Guru Mukha we have to learn this archaic Vedic language. Brahmaha devebhyo vijigye tasyaha brahmano vijaye deva amahiyanta. Okay, so let's look at what does it talk about. So it is talking about devebhyo vijigye. Okay, devebhyo vijigye means that some devatas, they won something, they won a battle. Devebhyo vijigye. Okay. Brahmaha devebhyo vijigye. Ha means, ha is stresses verily. It is only Brahman who won this war. So there was an incident in the previous Brahma Kalpa. Chaturmukha is illustrating Rudra. Okay, let's not forget that. And Chaturmukha is saying, Rudra, in the previous Brahma Kalpa, our Brahman secured victory for Devatas. Okay, from who? Okay, so the question there is, Brahmaha devebhyo vijigye means Brahman secured victory for the Devatas. From whom? Okay, Srimad Acharya clarifies for us. Deveshu tad Brahma vyajayet daitya danavan. Okay, so the wars between the Daityas and Danavas, they are called the Asuras. And then we have, of course, the Devas. So the fight in one of the fights in the previous Brahma Kalpa, in one of the wars between the Devatas and the Asuras. Asuras are what? Daityas and Danavas. So there was a war between Devas and Asuras, and there are very many wars between Devas and Asuras that are described in the Veda, Itihasa and Puranas. Some of us may want to believe it, some of us may just say this is all mythology and story. That is entirely up to us. But the view there is in a few slides before, we looked at Brahmanda and Pindanda, right? In Pindanda, there are various devatas who have a portfolio. And from Gita, Bhagavad Gita, we will also understand it is not only devatas who have a portfolio for various sense organs. There are also asuras, okay, who also have influence over these sense organs. Okay, the Satan of the Catholicism inspires from the Vedas about how there are asuras who influence, who instigate desires into the sense organs. Okay, so those are in the Pindandas, that they have an influence like the Devatas. And in the Brahmanda, there is an eternal war between Devatas and Asuras. You might see a lot of science fiction movies about this, again influenced by the Vedas. But the Vedas says that there are sentient beings all spread across the universe. The good ones are constantly fighting with the evil ones. The evil ones are the Asuras, the good ones are the Devas. So in such an incident, Brahman secured victory for the Devatas. Okay. From whom? From Daityas and Danavas. How did he secure the victory? by actually being present in the devatas, not only as their antaryamin. As antaryamin, he is always controlling their actions, isn't it? Like inside us, he is an antaryamin, constantly making us do things as per our swabhava. But he is also in the asuras. Okay? He is in the devas, making the devas do stuff. He is in the asuras, he is making asuras doing stuff. But then how can Brahman secure victory for the devatas alone but not to the asuras? Is he not being partial? So who wants to take this question? I hope I made sense in that question. So why did Brahman help the devatas win the battle but not the asuras? And that's the same thing in the Mantana also, right? So why did he get the victory for devatas but not the asuras? Anand.
Well, devatas are exalted souls, but they're still subject to a bit of brain fading. If I may call so, brain fade. Sometimes they do go into a mode where they think it is them, it's not the god. And hence they get defeated by asuras. And
Yeah, so that is one incident, but occasionally, but many times they lose when they have the battle with the asuras in all our itihasas and puranas, but many times they also win over, right?
it's again to reinstate their knowledge and their level of intellectuality. I think God helps them. He wants to establish that dharma. Basically, God is controlling everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Anandji. So I think very well put. So there are lots of interesting thoughts in what you've said. So yeah, Anandji is right. But also, as Antaryamin, we understood Jiva Kartritva, right? Based on
Yeah.
Swabhava, Purushakya Prayatna, Swabhava and Karma, the Paramatma ensures that the souls do things according to their inherent nature. So Devatas' inherent nature is they're Sattvikas generally. Okay, most of the time, whereas asuras by definition they are tamasas. So God is not impartial. He is just sitting there and allowing these souls of various attributes play out their own inherent swabhava. That is one. The other one is there is something called avesha. So there are various this avatara, avesha, vibhuti and all that. Anybody wants to tell us what is avesha?
Anger?
It is avesha, that is a colloquial sense. Avesha is anger, but Paramatma takes avesha, right? Sometimes we say his avesha is there in this person and that person, and when he says in Vibhuti Yoga, it's all about avesha. So yeah, Sushil.
Yeah, determination.
Temporarily going into somebody's soul.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sushrut. Sudarshan ji, thank you very much. Yeah. So the interesting ideas. Again, the avesha is that the temporary, presence in jivas to accomplish some activities. So if you want to accomplish some activities through the souls, then that temporary, influence that happens through Paramatma is called avesha. So what is going on here is understanding again these ideas. So Brahmaha Devebhyo Vijigye means through Avesha in the Devatas, this Brahman, he actually, secured victory for the Devatas. Okay, so again that background. Now coming back to this Chaturmukha, who are these Devatas and Asuras? So we'll close today's session by actually having a discussion about that. There's lots of things that we talk about Suras and Asuras, right? Devi Sampat, Asuri Sampat, and all that in Gita. So who are these fellows? So if you actually go to the Shastras, Chaturmukha Brahma has 10 Manasaputra. Then there is this guy called Daksha. There is a guy called Marichi. Daksha had 13 daughters. Marichi had a son called Kashyapa. Okay. Kashyapa marries 13 daughters of Daksha. Okay. So that I've just picked up 3 of his wives, Aditi, Diti, and Dhanu. Okay. Aditi's children becomes Adityas, Suras and Devas. So Aditi's children, so coming through Kashyapa, Aditi are the Devas. Kashyapa, Diti, their children are the Daityas, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, those fellows. Okay, so they're all coming. They're all souls, right? They need to be born and they don't need to do the nasty things. So Kashyapa and Diti's children are the Daityas. That Kashyapa and Dhanu's children are the Dhanavas. So Dhanavas are again evil ones, Kalakeyas and so on. There is a Kalakeya in Bahubali, but actually this Kalakeya is a Dhanavas. Yeah, actually comes from Puranas. Marichi, Kashyapa, Dhanu, Dhanavas. Kashyapa, Diti, Daityas. Kashyapa, Aditi, Adityas, Suras and Devas. And the Puranas talk about that these fellows in the Brahmanda, in the cosmos, these Adityas and the Asuras waged a lot of wars. 12 wars is described in the Puranas. Okay, all very interesting stuff. But this is the background. Brahma Devebhyo Vijigye. The unending wars of the Devas and Asuras that comes in the Itihasa, Puranas and Upanishads becomes really interesting. Churning of the ocean, the Mahabharata. But let me remind you, it's fully symbolic and has philosophical significance. There is, of course, the historical significance in the Itihasas like Mahabharata. Okay, but there are deep philosophical significance of these internal conflicts amongst us in Pindanda and the cosmic balance in Brahmanda between the Devas and Asuras. Okay, so what we will do next week is we'll pick up this idea. This is a very deep concept, not to be brushed very superficially, because then we go into Brahmanda and Pindanda and what is it that Chaturmukha Brahma is teaching Rudra. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I hope you found the background to this whole third chapter useful, because without the background, I don't think we'll be able to do justice to what our acharyas have taught us about the third kanda. Okay, so I will stop there at that point. Thank you again for a very interactive session. Krishna Pranamastu. We'll take up any questions if you may have at this point.
Madhu, what is I don't know, it's a very unrelated question maybe, but in the Christianity, they talk about the devil and all, and similar in Islam. So what is the qualitative difference between what we talk about in Hinduism and the other ones?
Good question, Sudarshanji. I honestly do not know because I have not read some of those world philosophies. But the Satan of Catholicism, I've done a little bit of reading. The Satan of Catholicism, the one that instills desires. Okay, so Kama Esha Krodha Esha Samudbhavaha. In Gita, Krishna says Kama Esha Krodha Esha Samudbhavaha. It is all these things come because of that Kama. That Kama, Abhimani of the Kama, Abhimani of Dvesha and so on, they are all the various Asuras. Okay, so Catholicism picks that sentient being that controls desires and labels that person as Satan, which we would call it as Kali. So in the Vedic system, Kali you could kind of find some similarity to the Satan of Catholicism and Kali. There are similarities. But with regards to other philosophies, I don't know much about it. But maybe Devalji, if you want to come in.
Sorry, I've got a question, so it's not about this.
Yeah. Sure, go for it.
Oh, okay. So so two questions. One is a confusion, but one is a question. So you talked about Avesha. So in what Acharya has taught us, there is Paramatma with us. So why do we need Avesha?
So yeah, good point. So the clarification there is not that there's suddenly Narayana from Vaikuntha decides he wants to get into this jiva and then do something. You are absolutely right. Paramatma is already there. He is there as an Antaryamin and he is allowing the jiva to do that. The same Antaryamin, he just brings, he is there and he has an extra avesha. This is through what is called as viseshas. Okay, and he just puts that extra thing to the souls to accomplish some idea. So it is not that somebody, Narayana is again coming in there, Devalji.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing.
Sorry, go on. You go on, Deva. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second question was, you put the slide where below Parvati there is changes in that Manvantara, and then a Kalpa. That slide.
Mm-hmm.
But you also are saying today that the story is about, I mean, we've not heard the story, but the story is about something that has happened in previous Manvantara.
Yeah.
So I'm just a bit curious about this Vedas that we study are revealed in this to us in this yuga, right? So where is this, how much memory does this Chaturmukha have to remember something from previous kalpa is the question. It's a
Okay.
little bit confusing as to
Yeah.
where
Okay.
that memory bit is stored.
Okay, yeah, super questions. So, shall we take so there are two parts, part A and part B. Part A is about the Vedas. Anybody else wants to come in and give their thoughts on this? So,
Yeah. I
so
think because this Chaturmukha was the Vayu in the previous Kalpa, he knows everything. What
fantastic.
happened in the previous Kalpa.
And Vedas are eternal. They are the same. They're not different for different kalpas. Is that?
Yeah. So yeah, so there you got your answer, Devalji. So one
Also, I would like to add one small point here,
yeah, yeah.
that in the Bhagavad Purana, it is said that that in the when God created when Brahma came out of his navel, he revealed the Vedas in his heart. So basically, this knowledge is also revealed inside. So Brahma is also a rishi who has the revelation of this Vedic knowledge. So basically, through that, he got the knowledge here.
Yeah.
That
Thank you. Thank you, Saptarshi. So beautiful discussion there. So they will, very important question. So the first answer there is Vedas are called Amnaya. Yeah. So if you think about it, Veda, what are the names of Vedas is called? It's called Amnaya. Amnaya means the sequence of letters and sounds is eternal and it is always the same in every creation. Vedas are always the same. There is not even a single change in the letter or the sound or the way in which it is uttered in every creation, including the previous Brahmakalpa. Puranas, they may have some change, there may be some differences in letters and so on, but they are also eternal. There may be some changes, but that version of Puranas is eternal. Okay, so that is the difference between Vedas and Puranas. So Vedas are Amnaya, they are the same. And the other one, as Sushruth very beautifully pointed out, is the Vayu of previous Brahmakalpa is the Chaturmukha of this Kalpa. So Vayu is what in the Pramana Lakshana, you may remember that particular verse, asarvatrikam anyatra alochane sarva vishayam. Okay, so that particular anyatra alochane sarva vishayam of jnana vayu becomes very important in the sense that all that is ruju, we are just talking about ruju category of souls, be it chaturmukha or vayu. All that they have to do is they are omniscient, always know the past, present, and the future all the time. All that they need to do is make an effort and they will know it. Whereas Lakshmi and Narayana, it is always with them effortlessly, eternally. Lakshmi's, there is a slight reduction in clarity, whereas for Chaturmukha and Vayu and the Ruju categories, they have to put an effort and they get everything. And of course, our Chaturmukha of this particular Kalpa was Vayu, the previous Kalpa, so he knows everything. And then he is teaching this to the Rudra of this Kalpa. Okay, the Rudra will then become Sesha of the next Brahmakalpa. So excellent, great question, Devalji. Thank you very much. And again, it again gives us an idea to a reason to think about these kind of issues and how to settle these kind of confusions. Yeah, thank you very much. Any other questions, Sudarshan?
Yeah, Madhu, you said about Avesa, at people at like different levels in India, we have this people getting trance, like they come into like, and in fact, even psychiatry, we discuss about it. So, and the same concept as well, like, the people believe that the God, the Amman or whatever coming into that.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to make point. So, is it like, can we call it as a pervasive of our Vedic culture throughout Bharat?
Yeah, absolutely. Avesham, as it's called in Tamil, right? Avesham.
Yeah.
Avesham comes from Avesha of the Samskrita. Absolutely. So the temporary presence of influence of some sentient being as Avesha. Yeah. Anybody has any other thoughts on Avesha?
I think I understood what you said. I think you told Devalji, isn't it? That, whatever is inside only is coming in that form. So Pindanda has got all these tattvas in us. So whichever tattva is prominent at that time may appear to a maybe highly evolved people only get this avesha. I've been to some anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what they say, they, like you said, they think and they know. Without thinking also they know. Some people, which we forget, they know that. I don't know how they do that, but they know that. They can go to our depth and tell us what is in us, which we forget, sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Kannada word.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheilaji. We got two other hand raises. I'll come to that. So again, that Avesha and Avatara, we have to be very careful with what is Avesha and what is Avatara. Avesha is a very temporary thing. Avatara is the divine form of the Lord who comes, in various yugas. And let us not forget, Vishnu's Avatara is only in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga. Vedas have made it very, very clear that Vishnu's Avatara is only in the first three yugas. There is no avatar of Vishnu in Kali Yuga as per the Vedas, okay? But there are folks who claim otherwise, but that could be an Avesha, not an avatar. So if you consider that as an Avesha, you could potentially reconcile those issues. But the Avatara, where the Lord himself descends, is only in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga. Okay, there is no avatar of Vishnu. Avesha, possibly, yeah. So let's go to Saptarshi, and then after that, Galaxy S24, it says here. So is that Srikanji? I can't be sure. Yeah, Saptarshi.
No, it's Prakash.
Prakash, thank you. Yeah, Saptarshi, go first, and then Prakashji next.
Yeah, so regarding the Avesha, like we can have an analogy, like so basically when the creation happened, that God first entered the universe, and basically once he entered, he is already in the universe, because as his presence makes it activating everything starts, right? So the same way, so in a company, let's say if he is the CEO, he is always there, but sometimes only he is indulging into an employee's behavior or action. So it is like that, maybe.
Yeah. Beautiful, Saptarshi. Yeah, very, very nice analogy. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. So shall we do Prakash, and then after that we have I think that is Panagaji, I think. Okay, Prakash, you go for it.
Nothing, Madhuji, just to give the etymology, wish means to enter. So Avesha means to enter. Means Samanta, then to enter completely, because Mukhya Prana, Bhima, when he enters into Balrama, every time if he wants to fight with him for sport, immediately Bhima, he doesn't fight, he respects him, just namaskara. So he knows that that there is the Bhagavan's Avesha is there, means the special presence of Lord is there. That is one thing. Then previously, in our previous conversation, we were talking about Kalpa. Kalpa is one day of Brahma. So that means in previous Kalpa, Brahma knew it. He was not Hanumanji. So the Kalpa is only one day. It's not previous thing. He was Hanuman, Mukhya Prana, and then he became Brahma. Because the 100 Kalpas, in the full day of Brahma only, it has to complete, right? So previous Kalpa, he will still be Brahma only, because he has to live the full life, right? So I think he should be knowing that. Maybe Rudra did not know. I don't know what is the story behind it, but just my thought on that.
Yeah, thank you, Prakashji. So yeah, Dinakalpa, as you said, and there are 360 days of 1 year of Brahma, and of course Brahma has 100 years. So you're looking at 36,000 days of Brahma, and then there is the Mahapralaya, which is so there is the Dinakalpa, and then there is the Brahmakalpa. So Brahmakalpa is the previous kalpa. So if you who is given a good illustration, I think it's Vamana Panditacharya that has actually given this description of what is happening here, Prakashji. So I may request you to go back to the Vamana Panditacharya's commentary on this, which or it could even be Raghavendra Tirtha. Either it's Vamana Panditacharya or Raghavendra Tirtha who have given this. So I will also go back and clarify that reference for you. Devalji? Or no, we had Shauryaji and then Deval. Yeah.
Namaste, Guruji. Just to on the topic of Avesha, Mantralaya Raghavendra Swami, it is said that he has Mukhya Prana Avesha in him, which is why his Sannidhanam is so pavitra, and he also has Purna Shri Hari Anugraha Kripa, which is why he continues to do miracles to date. On topic of Avesha, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much, Panagaji. Very beautiful. Thank you. Deval. You have to unmute Deval, unless it was a historical hand.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, just so you said there's no avatar, Avetya and Avatar are different. I get that. But in Kali Yuga, there will be Kalki, right? That is there in the Vedas or it isn't there in the Vedas?
So just for clarification, Devalji, Kalki Avatara happens after the end of Kali Yuga, not during Kali Yuga. Yeah, this 432,000 years. At the end of 432,000 years is the Kalki's Avatara. So the Kali Yuga has to be over and then Kalki appears. Yeah, so there is a slight difference there. But over the last 5,000 years, after Krishna's Dwapara Yuga, I'm sorry, Vedas have not given us that information that Vishnu has actually taken an avatara in the last 5,000 years. No, he sends his messengers. Okay, so that is very clear in Kali Yuga that he sends his messengers to sort certain things out. Whenever the evil increases, he sends his messengers there. The messengers could be so many prophets who have come in this world. Could be any prophet you like. They could be the messengers of God who come to bring in righteousness. But whether Vishnu himself takes the avatara, if there is a Vedic evidence, then I think we should look at it very seriously. But from all that I have learned from our gurus and so on, there is no Vishnu's avatar until the end of Kali Yuga. Anybody else wants to clarify or share their thoughts on this one? Devalji, yeah, go for it.
No, I'm just a bit curious then why would, so then that is, I mean, we are only 5,000 years in Kali Yuga and Krishna in Gita is saying yada yada hi dharmasya. So I'm just, so like for so many other thousands of years, there won't be a need for Krishna avatara to come.
Yeah,
Is
so
the logical interpretation of that sentence.
Yeah, you have great souls like Acharya, Srimad Acharya, who will come and give us the right path. So that is one way of doing it. As I said, there are other prophets who come and give right path for souls. So that is the view from Vedas. We can of course choose to have other views, but we are discussing Vedas right here. So Neetaji and then Saptarshi.
Sir, just I had a question. What about Buddha avatar? That was in Kali Yuga, right?
Super question. Anybody wants to pick that up?
It was during the Sandhi Kala between the two yugas. It was not exactly in Kali Yuga. It's a Sandhi Kala, means it between the two yugas. That's why it's not considered like.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Prakashji. Saptarshi?
Yeah, thanks. So regarding the avatara in Kali Yuga, in one, I heard once that, okay, so it said that that God is taking avatars in every yuga, like every time. But in this yuga, we don't have anyone like Vyasa or Valmiki who can see that and tell us that, okay, he's Bhagavan. And the problem is, whatever is said, it has to be supported by the Vedic statement. Otherwise, every people, like you can see, there are a lot of God men. They can come and say, okay, I am God, I am God. So I personally think if Vedas are saying that there is no avatara in Kali Yuga, I think we should take that very seriously. And yeah, other thing, as you mentioned, Madhusudanji, that there can be avesha of avatars, and God, it is not a God's compulsion, right? That I have to come. If he wants, he can come. Otherwise, he can just empower a living entity to do what he wants to do, to perform that activity. So that's how this yada yada dharmasya, we can justify it in that way.
Yeah, beautiful, Saptarshiji. Fantastic, fantastic. Any other discussions? Okay, if no further discussion, amazing discussion at the end of this session. So yeah, let's close today's session, and I look forward to catching up next Sunday to pick up on this incident actually, which is even more interesting. The discussion was amazing, and the incident is going to be even more interesting, I think. So let's pick this up next Sunday. On that note, Sushuji, would you like to recite Om and we close today's session? Okay, Thank you very much, Sushruji. Fantastic. Hare Krishna, everyone. Take care. We'll catch up again next week. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.